Today's the third Sunday of Lent. It's called Temptation Sunday, and it's a story I'm sure you've all heard many times when Christ went up and was tempted on the mountain. And I'll start with just reading the very first few verses of it. It says, Jesus was led up by the Spirit in the wilderness to be tempted by the devil, and when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights afterwards, he was hungry. So this is the story of the very first Lent. The very first Lent, the first time when Christ fasted 40 days and 40 nights, from where we, derive our Lent of 40 days and 40 nights. And it's called Temptation Sunday. It tells the story of Christ going out into the wilderness to be tempted. And the order here is very important, after he had fasted. So he fasted for 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness. And then the three temptations happened, one after the next. And so here we very clearly see an important link between fasting and temptation. The fasting happens first, and then the temptations come. And that order is really important in our spiritual life as we start to, imitate, replicate what Christ did. Because this is what he did, and this is what we're doing for our 40 days. And so this order is important. First, I battle myself, and then I battle Satan. And that's the order. First, I battle myself, and then I battle Satan. So Christ went in and he fasted, and who was he battling when he was fasting? Just himself. He was just hungry. And he was fighting against his own hunger, his own humanity as a person. He was just fighting himself out there all alone. And then after he'd fought himself, then he had the battle with Satan. And so that order is important for us because as we start to fast Lent, sometimes we think that Lent is the real battle. Lent's the thing that that's where really the rubber hits the road, right? I mean, if we watch those ingredients and we really focus on those things, then we've done it right. We've lented correctly because we ate nothing that comes from an animal. And that's the battle. But that's not the battle. That's just the first battle, the one against myself, not the one against Satan. And so we've learned this technique of fasting really from the monks, right? It's something we got from them, and it's like they created we've created this annual tradition, this university where we go to once a year, where we get into this school of thought, this season in the church's life, and we say, now this is the time when we focus on the battle with ourselves, and we fight ourselves. And we realize from this university that it's produced many, many scholars, and these techniques work. And many of the people who we want to be like have told us these techniques work. Right? So in the case of fasting, it's a setup for a pretty tough battle, and it's the battle against ourselves. The battle against our own will. The battle against our own ego. And it's very important that this battle, the battle against our will, the battle against our ego, we realize that isn't the real battle. That's just the first battle, right? It's kind of like we all just watched the Winter Olympics. Well, those guys were out there training. They've been training for years. And that training is great, but that's not the Olympics. The Olympics happen for 2 weeks a year, right? That's when it matters. I mean, you can get all the PRs you want. You can set world records in training if you want, but it doesn't count unless it happens in the Olympics. And it doesn't count unless you do it against someone else and there's, someone with a start gun and a timer. And so there's two pieces. Those guys are out there training, but that's not it. That's not the Olympics. And so we wrestle, and we wrestle against ourselves, and then we wrestle against Satan. St. Paul says we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Our fight isn't with just me. My fight is with the devil. All right, so why do we fast? And let's just kind of all get ourselves aligned, because sometimes we think the fast is the thing we're supposed to do really, really well. And if we do the fast really, really well, we've done it. We've achieved something. Lent is not something we do for God. Lent is something we do with God. We don't fast for God. In fact, we say the opposite. We're going to say the opposite today. The deacons are going to say during Psalm 150, what are they going to say? Jesus Christ, what? Fasted for us. We don't say we fasted for you. He fasted for us. And so we fast with him, but we don't fast for him. It's not something we do for God. So what does then fasting actually do? Well, let's step back and see what's the goal of the spiritual life. Let's just at 30,000 feet. I mean, if you want to summarize the gospel in one sentence, my favorite sentence, deny yourself, carry your cross, and follow me. That's it. All right, if you had to, summarize the whole spiritual life, the whole spiritual struggle, that's it. And so how would you characterize this life on earth? Well, it's a very hard life, right? As we've all seen, as we start to live longer and longer, it's tough. Work is tough, relationships are tough, spiritual life is tough, all of it's hard. And Jesus said it, differently. He didn't say it, as casually as I did. He says, in the world you will have tribulation. And he's just kind of making us a promise. That's just how this world works. So life's full of these disappointments, right? I wanted this thing, but I got this other thing. And that's life, right? I wanted this job, but I got that job. I wanted this husband, but I got that husband. I wanted this career, but I got that career. I wanted to go to medicine, but I got into dental, right? Whatever the thing is, right? I wanted these kind of kids, but I got those kind of kids. I wanted these kind of friends, but I got those kind of friends. I wanted this kind of boss, but I got that kind of boss, right? Life's just full of this stuff. This is what we do, okay? And how we handle this as Christians, that's the determination. That's where it really matters, right? Because the disappointments go to everybody, right? Everyone on earth has got the disappointments. As a Christian, how do I deal and face with those disappointments? Well, that's where the spiritual life comes in. Do I accept and allow these things to shape me, or do I fight against them? And that's the question, right? When disappointments come, and they will come, I promise you, what do? How do we handle it? Do we fight God? Do we fight people? Do we rebel? Or do we allow God to do what he needs to do? Do we succumb to the cross? And so we're called to accept these things in our life and not lean against them. And so now comes the point of fasting. This accepting of something I don't want, this is a spiritual muscle. And we have to train this spiritual muscle, this idea of accepting the thing I don't want to happen, that happened, right? So I have to allow God to let it to use me. Allow a part of me to die, right? Because that's what the cross is about. It's about a part of me dying. And I want to say it a different way. The old man, the old Adam, the sinful man, a part of me has to die for the spiritual life to work. Deny yourself, carry your cross, and then follow me. So how do I react to people when they treat me badly? How do I react to my boss when he treats me badly? How do I react to my wife, my husband when they treat me badly? How do I react to my friends when I see their faults and their true colors? How do I respect my husband when he doesn't deserve it? How do I love my wife when she doesn't deserve it? How do I serve when no one's appreciating me? How do I serve when people are attacking me? When things don't go my way? These are the real battles of the Christian. This is the hard stuff, right? Doing something and not being appreciated in return, not being loved in return, not being respected in return. And again, all of that gets reduced to what? I want this, but I got that. And that's ultimately what fasting is. I want this, but I'm going to eat that. And so at a very baby level, what the church is trying to get you to do is figure out how I can say, I want this other thing. I want steak, but I'm going to eat these vegetables or this other thing that I really don't want. But I'm going to learn to be okay with that thing I don't want. And I'm going to practice eating the thing I don't want. And being happy and smiling and being content and saying, thank God in all things. Right? And allowing myself to just be simpler. I'm not going to get what I want in the way I want it. In fact, sometimes during the fast, we try to bypass the system, right? So, I got to eat food, no problem. I'll make the best food you've ever had, right? And I personally, I think I make the best food, but some of you think otherwise. And so what I do is I bypass it. I just make it amazing. Or, the good old, this kunefa is better than fitari kunefa. Right? Okay. This Impossible Burger tastes just like a real burger. Okay. Well, then what have you done? You've just done nothing. Right? You're not doing the whole, I want this, but I'm going to get that. No, I'm going to stick with what I want and get it the way I want it. Right? And especially, during the Nativity fast, when we go for the all-you-can-eat sushi and then just kill the fast, right? Now we're really super fasting, right? Just having as much sushi as humanly possible. And in the process, doing absolutely nothing, right? I'm not working out a muscle here. I'm not picking something I don't want. So Lent is about this time where I pick the thing I don't want. And it has to be a self-discipline. It's not forced. It can't be imposed, right? I encourage you parents, don't force your kids to do much. When they're little, put fasting food in the house. But if you shove it down their throats, they'll never learn that it's from them. It's self-discipline, self-denial, right? And then pick the little things. Don't park in the nearest spot. Park further away. Don't eat exactly when you want to eat and how you want to eat it. If you like it warm, let it be cold. Do those things to yourself and say, I won't give me what I want. It's only 2 months. Try it. I won't give me what I want. And I'll push myself to learn not to give me what I want. I read this great quote. It talks about Lent. It says, in the spirit of conformity, we should accustom ourselves for the love of God to putting up with the little daily irritations. And I encourage you during Lent to put up with little daily irritations, such as words said that wound our self-esteem, a fly or a mosquito that annoys us, the bark of a dog, knocking into something as you walk along, a small accidental cut, a light bulb suddenly going out, a tear in our clothes, a pen that won't write, and so on. These are the little daily irritations. These are the little daily crosses that we should allow ourselves to take, to learn from, to grow from, to be patient in. Instead of getting frustrated and throw the pen across the thing and yell at the dog and call the neighbors. In one way, it's even more important to practice conformity to God's will in these small things than in the larger things. So sometimes we're always aiming for the big things in the spiritual life, the big sacrifice, the big stuff. But that's not really where it's at. It's in the little things, right? Dealing with another person, interacting with something, getting bumped and not getting really, really upset. Not finding a parking spot. Getting cut off on the freeway. This is the little daily irritations, and that's where the spiritual life grows. Every day, just a little bit at a time. So these monks were onto something. They purposely pushed themselves to self-deny themselves, not give themselves what they want through discipline, and to train themselves to accept something they don't want. Right? Again, the order is very important. First, I battle me, then I battle Satan. That's what we see in today's gospel. So I'm going to battle me during Lent. And Lent teaches us, battle yourself. Right? And sometimes we give up the wrong things, right? If you really want to have a fight on your hands, try to give up social media. I bet some of us would say, I'd rather give up social media than steak, right? That's probably harder than steak. Give up some of those creature comforts that we like. Reduce your screen time. Just do something to yourself to disrupt yourself. Disruption is the key during Lent. All right, so let's go back. Proverbs tells us, whoever is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he who rules his spirit than he who takes a city. This is the hard stuff, guys. Slow to anger and ruling your own spirit. That's control. That's very hard to do. And that's what we should be focused on during Lent. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Again, really, really hard to do, especially if you have kids. All right, so let's go back to the verse. Deny yourself, carry your cross, and follow me. So today we saw two things. Christ denies himself, and then he carries his cross in the trials and temptations with the devil. Now comes the follow me. And this is the most important part. In the liturgy, we're constantly reminding the church, all of ourselves, we're reminding ourselves that fasting has two pieces to it. What's the second piece? Prayer. In fact, right after I'm done with the sermon, what are the deacons going to say? Who remembers? Deacons, what do you remember? Huh? Our Father who art in heaven. Right? Why are they going to say our Father who art in heaven? We say our Father who art in heaven like 9 times in liturgy. Why are you going to say it again? Why do they add it in the liturgy? During Lent in particular. And we say it over and over. Sometimes we'll say it during the distribution. And during the fraction, Abuna is going to say fasting and prayer. He's going to say it over and over and over again. Right? Why? Because that's the two pieces. First, I fast, I deny myself. Second, I carry my cross, and then I follow him. And so, our Father is the quintessential prayer. It's the key, right? We have to put our face to Christ's face that's shining back into our face. We have to bring light into our life. It's not enough to say, I got to stop bad things. I got to stop eating steak. That's not what we're about. We're about being Christians. Abuna B'Shoy Kemen says Christianity is not morality. Those are different things. Christianity is living in Christ, bringing Christ into my life, having a personal relationship with him. Not eating steak does not give me a personal relationship with Christ. It's just a discipline technique, but it doesn't bring me any closer to him. How am I going to get closer to him? I have to talk to him. I have to be with him. I have to engage with him. I have to serve him. I have to love him. That's how I get closer to Christ. That's the objective. It's not just to be moral and to stop doing certain things. All right, so let's summarize quickly how we can benefit from Lent moving forward. First thing, discipline the mind. Protect your mind from unprofitable and harmful stuff. Here, I highly recommend you unplug. Get off social media. We're going to watch a lot of news about Iran in the next few weeks. Watch less. It's just going to stress you out. It's uncontrollable. It's outside. Maybe you can keep up to it, but don't be obsessed with it. And then instead of watching this stuff, I'm an accountant. The accountants say it's GIGO. There's FIFO and LIFO. And heard of FIFO and LIFO? First in, first out, last in, first out. Okay, no one has. But there's a thing called GIGO, which is garbage in, garbage out. Right? So if we put garbage in the system, we get garbage out of the system. Humans are the same way. Garbage in, garbage out. If you're going to fill your head with garbage, that's all you're going to get. Fill it with good stuff. Eat good meals. Okay. So, second thing I'll say, do not push back against God. All Lent, and we all feel it, right? As soon as Lent starts, all those little irritations start. It's almost like magic, right? The day Lent starts, somebody disturbs your peace, something happens bad, all of a sudden the pipes break. It's just like clockwork. And that's okay. What I suggest we all do is not push back. Don't throw something on the ground and cuss, and I can't believe this happened, and here we go again, la la la, right? Don't push back. Don't fight it. Accept it. The dog barking, the neighbor being annoying, the mosquito, the fly, the pen running out of ink, the tear in your clothing. Don't push back against it. Let it do what it needs to do to you, which is what? I wanted this, but I got that. I wanted a dog that doesn't bark, but I got a dog that barks. I wanted a pen that writes, but I got a pen that doesn't write. I want a light bulb that works, but I got a light bulb that doesn't work. That's okay. That's all part of the same mechanism. So now, when I have a situation with a friend who is not the friend I want, or a wife that's not the wife I want, or the husband that's not the husband I want, I've worked that muscle, and I can choose it and show love in the face of that disappointment in my life. All right, I'll tell you guys a story. So there's a story about a young man from a rich family who went to a monastery. This is in the Paradise of the Fathers. And he wanted to become a monk. And this guy had a lot of money. So then the abbot of the monastery told him, train yourself in accepting insults with joy. Right? Practice getting insulted with joy. That's what his father told him, right? So the stuff we're talking about here is really old stuff. So he looked around, but there was no one to insult him. Like none of the other monks wanted to insult him. So he went to the village and he hired a man to come to the monastery to insult him. Right? Because he had some money, so he'd pay this guy, come over and cuss me out. Until he got really good and trained in accepting insults with joy. Right? And I can see how this story gets really creative. Like, look for faults in my personality, point stuff out that I'm doing, make fun of me when I mess up, like real stuff. Try to hit where it counts. One day, he was on an errand in the city together with the other monks, when a madman, someone who was insane, started hurling insults at him, and then the monk started laughing. The other monk asked him why he's laughing. He told him, I used to pay for this, and now I'm getting it for free. So, as we go through Lent, think of it as a time, just ask your wife, hurl insults at me. She'll do it for free. All right. All right, last point. Sorry, I know I'm going on too long. There's a battle between us, the two parts of us. All right, St. Paul says in Colossians that each of us has two wills. A higher will, it's like a daycare in here, a higher will and then a lower will. Like there's the higher man and then there's the lower man. In the cartoons, they have the angel on the left shoulder and the angel on the right shoulder. Okay. So there's this sensual will, and that's the law of sin. And then St. Paul tells us to seek Christ, which is above. He says above, where Christ sits on the right hand of God, and a lower sensual will, or the law of sin, which is the rest of it. So these two wills are fighting against each other. And the goal of the Christian is to reverse the situation, right? Usually the sensual will beats the holy will. So during Lent, try to just reverse it. Try to get the holy will to beat the sensual will. And St. Paul laments his own difficulty in doing this. He says in Galatians, for the flesh lusts against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh, and these are contrary to one another, so that you do not do the things that you wish. Right? And he says this, he complains out loud, I do not understand what I do. And believe me, he sounds just like I did yesterday. For what I want to do, I do not do. But what I hate, I do. And that's really all our stories. What I want to do, I do not do. And what I hate, I do. For I desire to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out. For I do not do the good I want to do, but the evil I do not want to do. And this I keep doing. So, to bring it home, the monks have taught us that this period of fasting is a time, just like Christ did, to fight the self. Use it as an opportunity to break your own wills, your own egos, your own pride, your own desire, all the things that I want in the way I want them, that we practice dealing with these bigger things in our spiritual life, and glory be to God forever. Amen.